cricket expert and commentator Andrew Leonard. Andrew, great to have you on. Thanks so much for your time as always. Let's start with the United States, who had a great run. They made their history before falling short in the Super 8s. How much do you feel they have to be proud of, and can they now build on this moving forward?
Yeah, great to be with you again, Patrick. And look, what a story it's been. I know they'll be disappointed ultimately with 3 defeats from 3 in the Super 8s as they left their home soil down to the Caribbean. Those defeats down in Antigua and Barbados, but just the scenes of hundreds and close to thousands of American fans going down. One of the fans actually caught a ball in the crowd today with a proud USA jersey on. And, you know, they pushed South Africa really hard in the first game, and then ultimately the class told against both the co-hosts, the West Indies, and then England today, who gave them a bit of a clobbering. But I think it's just a sign of things to come. It's all about Major League Cricket now, which will follow it, and the timing of that from the organisers is really good. That gets going shortly after the final of the T20 World Cup on July 5th. It'll be hosted in Morrisville and in Dallas. And every single member of the American squad, the American heroes, are going to be playing, and so many stars of the rest of the teams of this World Cup, Australians, South Africans. We see some really big names coming together over there in Dallas and in Morrisville in North Carolina. So a chance for Americans to see their newfound heroes up close and personal throughout July.
Yeah, Major League Cricket in early July. We've got that to look forward to. So let's talk England. They move into the semis after not the best start to this tournament, I will say. What do you make of their victories against the opponents in question? And do you feel they can now go on to make it back-to-back titles? What do you say?
Well, Jos Buttler, he kind of came into this tournament a little bit understated. He was trying to do the opposite of what happened in last year's 50 overs World Cup, which was let the expectations get the better of his side as they tried to defend the title in that format from 2019 to 2023. But in a shorter turnaround time, the T20 World Cup, you have to remember the 2 different main white ball formats of cricket. The T20 World Cup's once every 2 years. They were champions in the MCG against Pakistan 2 years ago down in Melbourne. This time around, they'll be looking to get through a semi-final. They don't know their opponents yet, because it could be India, it could even be Afghanistan, or it could be their old enemy, Australia, depending upon what happens in that other group. The only thing that is certain for now is that England are the only one of the 4 semi-finalists confirmed. In essence, it will be a straight shootout tonight between South Africa and the West Indies, the co-hosts, to find out the other semi-finalist. And then anything could still happen in Group 2 after that remarkable victory for Afghanistan over Australia. That was last night.
All of which, I think you read my next question, Andrew, brings me on nicely to that sensational win for Afghanistan. Tell us why it means so much to their team and indeed their country, and what impresses you most about them as a unit, as a team.
Well, they're the most brilliant bowling team. They actually used 8 bowlers last night. And Afghanistan cricket, the journey they've taken in 16 years since coming onto the international scene, it's unheralded. It's really unthought of in any sport. But for cricket as a story, Afghanistan, with all the problems that they have in their country, it's one of the few things that unites them, brings them all together. And they've beaten Australia for the first time in their history by 21 runs. They deserve the victory, as you heard the Australian captain Mitchell Marsh say earlier. They outplayed them in all 3 facets. They fielded brilliantly. They've got 2 wonderful openers, Ramanullah Gurbaz and Ibrahim Zadran. Gurbaz is one of the leading run scorers in the tournament. And I just think that they're going to know what they have to do tomorrow night. They'll have to beat Bangladesh. They'll also know the margin they'll need to do it by. It could well come down to net run rate. If Australia beat India, you could have a 3-way tie with 2 wins apiece in that Super 8 table. Then Afghanistan will hold the aces, because they'll know the margin they need to win by in the very final group game. And who would have thought it? A team that 16 years ago was playing against the likes of Bahama and Mozambique, the Bahamas, Mozambique and Norway in World Cricket League Division 5, has made it all the way to the precipice of a first ever World Cup semi-final. And if they do get there, they'll play that in Trinidad, which will help their spin bowlers, their world-class stars like Rashid Khan and Noor Ahmed, and all of the brilliance that they have within their bowling lineup. They could be looking at a first ever World Cup final. Remarkable scenes, I have to say, Patrick. One of the great stories in sport.
Yeah, it would be absolutely extraordinary. I've got time for one more quickly. I want to ask you about, if you're an Australian fan or indeed one of their players right now, how concerned should you be at the moment? What do you think?
Well, the problem is they don't know exactly what they need to do. They know they have to beat India almost certainly to get through to that semi-final, but they may need to win by a margin. And against India, who are one of the only unbeaten sides in the tournament alongside South Africa. That's not going to be easy. They weren't maybe at their very best against Afghanistan. They know if they play brilliantly well, they could beat India and they could still get to a semi-final. But it's concerning scenes right now for Australia fans. This World Cup, the first ever 20-team World Cup, the narratives, the storylines it's had, it's been absolutely brilliant. The first one co-hosted in the States. And I tell you, with 2-3 games left in the Super 8s, the semi-finals and final to follow, it's still very hard to pick a winner.
Yeah, it's compelling viewing, no question. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. We do appreciate it.
Pleasure. Great to chat as always.